I think it's pretty funny when people say I hate the transgender community, when in reality I don't. I just hate how the transgender community likes to operate, because they operate like any other marginalized community on the internet. We're going to always talk about the positives. There's nothing wrong in our community. We love each other. We're happy. We sing songs. We treat each other with respect. And anybody who doesn't, they're bringing all that negative masculinity, toxicity of being a transphobe into our lives, and we're not going to partake in any of that. I hate how there are people who are either transgender men or transgender women who do things that are criminal, and nobody who claims to be a transgender activist or a proud transgender is going to stand up and say, that is not what we're about. That idiot is that idiot, and I hope they go to jail and get the punishment necessary. That has nothing to do with the rest of us. If more people did that, I have the opinion that they would get more respect from people who don't really know anything about transgenders or transgenderism and want to have that sit down conversation. But thankfully, today, we're not talking about nothing criminal. We're just talking about a topic that doesn't get discussed enough in the transgender community, especially now that more and more people want this to be educated towards kids. I think if you're going to talk about a little boy thinking that he's a girl and he should be going through all these changes to proceed in that notion, you should also talk about detransitioning, because yes, it's a thing. There are individuals who grew up thinking that they were something, partook in the things necessary to become that something, and then later in life decided, I'm not really that. So I'm not going to speak on it any further, because of course, when you're somebody speaking on the thing that you're not, you're going to get the knee-jerk dumbass that's going to say, well, wait a minute, how can you say that when you're not that? So allow me to show you somebody who decided that they were going to be a transgender, but later in life decided, that's not really who I am.
So I'm going to get into trans and mental delusion and everything because it's been called that before. When I was in my early 20s, I lived in Olympia, Washington, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and she told me, you are a boy. And I was like, not so sure about that. But she pressed it and pressed it enough. She's like, look at the way you dress, look at your mannerisms, look at the way you talk. And I'm like, okay, well, I still talk the same. Still have these same mannerisms. I mean, today I wear boots and jeans. With them, I wear girl pants, like Miss Me's rock revivals, etc., etc. Doesn't matter. But she was damn convinced. Yeah, you're a guy. So I went with it. Wrote this page essay that she wanted me to write as to why you are. I started binding. I went with this stupid different name. I still remember it. It's dumb. And, went with that little acceptance. Yeah. And that was in my early 20s. Once I broke up with her, got away from those friends, I wanted nothing to do with that. And I immediately stopped. And I thought I was so glad that I am who I am today. Thank God. Oh my gosh. Really enjoy just being me. I look at the younger generation today and what they're doing to kids and how easy it is for their minds and to just flop that. And it's like a mental delusion, because I was a full-ass grown adult convinced by one person, their friends supported me, and it was like instant. Fine. Okay. And if I hadn't have gone away from that, I have no idea what would have happened. I don't. So do I think it's a mental delusion? Yeah, I do. Are there people who are trans and so, well, you know what? Fine. But I really do feel like it's not okay. And especially for the younger kids, especially, it's not okay. They're way too young. If that happened to me in my early 20s and I was convinced that quick, imagine these younger kids with just a single teacher telling them, you are not a boy, you're a girl, or the other way around.
I started transitioning, taking testosterone my sophomore year of college, and I stopped transitioning about a year ago. So I've been off hormones for a year. I've been off testosterone. Now I take a little bit of estrogen every day to kind of, quote, get my body back to normal. But I started noticing things in my daily life like, I'm gonna put off this testosterone shot, and then it would end up, I would just never take it, and then I would take it weeks later, and my hormones would just be horribly off balance. I started to, dress a certain way and was like, oh, this is more comfortable. I stopped, binding. I never wanted top or bottom surgery. I kind of had this idea every day of like, I used to be so much happier as just a bush lesbian, And then, I would think back to, why did I transition in the first place? And, it kind of always came down to like, wow, I was really lost at the time. I was in an abusive relationship with my ex-girlfriend and with her parents, who highly influenced me to think that, if I was a man, my life would be better. My relationship would be perfect. All of our problems would go away. And that's not the case. And that's also not to say that I didn't kind of exhibit other traits of like being transgender, but that's kind of what it came down to. There was a lot of, I guess, pressure, and I was just lost. And I'm not saying that being transgender isn't real or anything like that, but I just kind of wanted to open up the conversation and answer any of your guys' questions. I would love to talk to you guys about it. I identify now as just a gender fluid lesbian, and I've never been happy.
Whether anybody likes it or not, this is a topic that needs to get discussed. I see it loosely brought up as a way of being transphobic because the person talking about it, while they have good intentions, they're spouting nonsense that leads to transphobia. And if that's the talking point any of y'all got as a means to shut down this person and their story, guess what? Fuck you, because any way you want to slice it, that's something that people go through. They have those regrets, whether if it's relationships, food, business decisions. People have regrets about things. And when it comes to changing your sexuality in the means of benefiting other people, when you yourself might not know about that, and you might be confused and conflicted, and later in life you end up regretting that choice to the point you want to turn back, it's necessary for that to be talked about. And you motherfuckers want this to be brought up to kids, but you only want to talk about, hey, little Johnny, it's okay if you wear a dress. That just means you might be a girl. Hey, little Susie, it's okay that you wear board shorts and basketball jeans and all these things. It just might mean you're a boy. And you constantly talk as if everything's a good thing. You constantly talk as if everything's rosy and bunnies and cheery-eyed. But there are some people out there who regret the decision and they go into detransitioning. And it got nothing to do with being transphobic. It's just them realizing that this wasn't the avenue they should have taken in life, and nobody should really have a problem with that. But I know, since I've brought this up and I've showed you somebody who went through all that, I'm going to be the person labeled as a transphobe. And if that's the route y'all want to go, that's perfectly fine. Just know you're a little bit emotionally damaged for you to be getting mad at me for talking about something that's a little bit not common, but should be more common in terms of having dialect about kids, transgenders, and how the process goes. Because if you want that to be broadcasted and taught towards kids, you need to teach them everything instead of what you just want broadcasted as the rosy cheek thing. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see y'all in the next one. Goodbye.